Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Peter Gunn. He is an author, a poet, US Air Force veteran, avid bodybuilder, and as a poet, he strives to bring back epic poetry back from the past. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how narrative about epic, in poetry, epic poetry about feminine narrative has been a bit different than what you
Yes,
desire
very
it
much
to
so.
be. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about
Okay,
all
great,
that. Okay.
great.
So in that backdrop, we'll have our conversation, Peter. But before that, let's understand a bit about your background, about your journey, so that the audience knows better who they are listening to.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Wisconsin. Grew up there in a small town called Menominee Falls. And when I graduated high school, I decided, well, I had a natural talent and knack for fixing things. So I decided to go into the military, took their aptitude test. They call it an ASFAB. And I apparently did really good at it because then the recruiter threw the book at me, the book of jobs, said, here, pick anything you want. So I decided to fix fighter jets, the electronics and electrical systems in fighter jets as a career. And I did that for 21 years in the Air Force. I got into bodybuilding, and I've always loved comics and the whole hero's journey. And that's what attracted me to doing this with poetry is the hero's journey, and how the feminine seems to be brought out of it. They really, especially in ancient epic poetry, they really don't portray women in a positive light, shall we say. And so once I graduated and got out of the Air Force, I decided to start a family, had a daughter, and that's what really hit it home for me is I love like the Iliad, the Odyssey, and Dante's Inferno, epic poetry like that. But there again, my daughter, I want to show this to her, but it's almost saying, or inferring without saying it that to our daughters and sisters, they're not worthy of having the epic hero's journey because they're female. So it seems to be devoid, and it needs to be addressed. So I decided once I retired from the Air Force that I was going to do something about it. Someone needed to take up that mantle and write something not only that would stand the test of ages, but also something Generation Z, the new generation that's up and coming, would be able to relate to. Because you pull out like the Mahabharata, okay, from I think it had 1.8 million words in it, okay, to a Generation Z person, young and they're not going to want to read it. So we need something that they can understand that they will attract, they will understand.
Right. So is it about attracting the young generation, or you want to set the narrative right? Obviously, they to all those people who wrote, even Homer when he wrote, or any other person who wrote during in whatever place they wrote as per what they must have felt, as per what their story was, and they put it. Uh, do you think, because this has happened across different continents, people in different places wrote about things that they wanted to. Do you think it was a deliberate attempt, or something like what their story wanted, whatever they had in their heads?
I think it was an attempt to document history, okay, and their beliefs at the time, okay. It was important to them at the time.
Right. So, in terms of portrayal of men and women both, the way,
Mhm.
uh, do you think it was the way the story was that they had thought? Why do you think it was negative? Means maybe it is just a story there are many other stories where, where women have been, perhaps portrayed in a very, very positive light. Instead of a man hero, it's a woman here who is the protagonist. How do you see that?
Well, I think that we need to portray women in a better light because it's not, there isn't enough stories out there, especially in poetry. Okay, if you look at Beowulf, okay, the woman's a demon, I believe, or some sort of dragon. Okay, and it's just telling us that we don't see them as equals, and we need to come together as men and men and females, and so we say form a synergy. Okay, get together so we could be stronger. Okay.
Right. So how do you want to make the narrative now correct? You can't go into the past. You can only look
No.
towards the future.
That's why I'm
How do
looking
you-
at Generation Z. That's why I'm looking, because if I can appeal to them, they will put it on their bookshelves. They will put it in their libraries. It will hold dear to them, okay? And endear that my books will then be endeared to their heart. They'll tell them to their children, their children to their children, and so forth. Okay? I can't write like the ancients because they would have no basis in today's world. Okay? I need something they can understand. Now, granted, the book does take place in the early 1800s. It begins, but it's still modern enough that they can understand it.
Right. So what tell us a bit about your writing, so that people know, okay, how are you going forward with that, making that correction in the way history or literature has looked at women's role.
Well, I knew that if I was going to make a splash in epic poetry, I needed something different. And that's why I invented LLP, linked lyrical poetry. I studied every poetry under the sun. I looked at it objectively, and there was a theme to what made the world's best poems, or should I say the most memorable ones, which was the rhyme itself. But then to rhyme a novel, I mean, it's like going up to Tolkien, like, great job at Lord of the Rings, but now you're going to have to start over and make it rhyme. Okay?
Right.
So you need to have that in mind from the start, is you're going to make it rhyme. Okay? I'll use the analogy of like a bricklayer, okay, a mason. He's going to lay just some regular red bricks with some mortar, okay? He has a stack of bricks, his mortar, and he knows what to do, okay? And maybe someone from quality control will come up and then check it for plumb and straight, okay? Imagine that's your writer, okay, the mason putting down the bricks, making a paragraph, and then the editor, quality control, is going to look at it, say you need to change here, you need to change here. But with LLP, it's completely different. It's not about the story. The rhyme has to come first. And sometimes the rhymes write the stories. Okay? So then we could say that's more like a natural stone wall. You go out and find stones in the forest, in the fields. None of them are square, none of them are straight, and you need to make them work. No editor can sit there and say that, oh, this stone doesn't belong here. Well, how do you know? Okay? You're going to have to lay them out, and just writing a paragraph in LLP can take an hour. Okay? So it's very time consuming, and there are times when you think you did great, and then you'll have to go back and change a page or two just to make the rhyme work. Okay? But it is what it is. I think the final product, it sings when you read it. And a lot of people on the indie market from your part of the world actually started calling me the spellcaster, because it sounds like you're reading a spell. But right. I think the final product is well worth it. Yeah.
Right. So to understand it in a simple person's language is that you are taking what, old classics and turning them into lyrical poetry?
No, I'm taking brand new stories. Okay. Because like I said, I want something that Gen Z can identify with, something that's real enough, okay, that they can identify with, and then bring it into the modern world, okay, and then of course apply the LLP principles to it.
Okay. And how are you choosing your stories? Are they from real life, or is it all fiction, creating
Well,
fiction?
I like to do what I call a Dan Brown, because Dan Brown is famous for this. Is he'll mix real life with fiction. Okay, so I did look back at history. I decided on the Amazons because number one, not enough was written about them. Okay, and I don't think they got enough credit in history. Okay, there are, and also they were more powerful than people give them credit for. Okay, yeah.
Right. Tell
And
us about, yeah,
there's a
carry
lot
on.
of, like, I used in my other book, The Karabi's Curse, that I used women in that as well, because that's ancient folklore from South America that has been almost untouched by authors. So I use like a lot from South America.
Right. You mean the Amazons means the Amazon in Amazon forests and all those places?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And you have written poetry around it, or
Yes,
the people around it?
yes, around the culture, around the tribe of the Amazons. Yes, I've made it
Okay.
into an actual other world. Okay, you will see, because the this is only the first book. This is going to be a trilogy. Okay, and it's going to slowly form into a big imaginative world of the Amazons. Okay, it's going to be so big it'll be like Lord of the Rings, basically.
Right. Right. So how does your imagination work here? Have you gone to that part of the world, in deep into the forests, or is it
I've been there
all
before, yes, because of my travels in the Air Force. Yes, I've been there, and I've studied a lot about the animals and the place, and um, know that they've never seen everything. Okay, it's so big. There could be a tribe of Amazons right now as we speak, sitting there. They wouldn't know it because it's so big. It's so dense. Yeah, even if you're flying over with helicopters and planes and satellites. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way the all this environmental degradation that we hear of from in that part of the world, we never know how long the Amazons will last. That's a worry for a lot of places. Businesses and politics and
Yes.
all these things
Yes.
are
Well,
taking
I
its toll.
I hope I can raise consciousness about the place as well, because I include specific examples of animals and trees and herbs in the book to raise people's consciousness about the place and how beneficial the Amazon is, and how we should try to protect it as for humanity's use.
Right. Where does your whole the feminine narrative fit in this particular book? How do you bring that here?
Well, I start off in early 1800s, the book, okay, at the end of the Napoleonic War, okay, and basically Britain was bankrupt, okay, having to fight Napoleon bankrupted them, so they're looking for ways to fill the coffers again, shall we say, and a young Oxford student, he was a cartographer, a map maker, stumbled upon on some old scripts, okay, by Herodotus, that he wrote about the Amazons, that there was a map, and he brought it to the Queen, and the Queen funded an expedition out there, okay, to the Amazon. And that's how it begins, okay. Now there's a long now that's just the first part, though, and then it has them going out there finding the Amazons, but then no one hears from them, and only one person survives. And that one survivor, he tells his son to go back out there and deliver a message. Okay, and that's where the real story begins. Okay.
Right, right. So, is this already out, or will it be out soon? What's the
It's already
status?
out. It's already out. It's on Kindle and Audible. Yeah.
Okay. And you said it will be a trilogy. So when is the tell us about the other books in the trilogy.
Well, the in the other books, they will the main characters then will involve go back to London, England. We're going to involve the Queen. We're going to involve the Pope. We're going to involve all sorts of dignitaries and stuff like that to get involved in this because the Amazons have a lot of money. Okay, and of course they all want it. So there's going to be ulterior motives. There's going to be ambassadors. There's going to be a lot of mystery revolving around the whole Amazon culture. And of course, there's going to be new enemies as well because you can't be that powerful and have that much money and not make a few enemies as well.
Right. Do you plan to base something in the US? You are in that part of the world, and lot of discussions happen about feminism and all those things. Would you want to focus there in the coming future?
Well, I want to bring it to light the fact that myself loving the books, when I was younger, and then being a part of me actually going into the military and setting out on my own hero's journey. I want women to feel safe to know that, hey, I'm worthy of setting out on my own hero's journey. You don't have to join the military. It's just maybe going off to college in another state or in another part of the world. Okay, but don't be afraid just because you're a woman to not do it. Okay, go fight the dragon. Go face Medusa, face to face. Okay, just because you're a woman shouldn't detain you from that. Live your life, and I want women to understand that.
Right. So isn't it good nowadays? A lot of women are getting into different areas of work or any other achievement earlier where they were a bit hesitant to.
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. I often question if they're selling themselves short because you do see a lot of women, especially in the workplace, very talented, very smart. In the back of your mind, they could do better. They could go further in the company. Me in the Air Force personally, I seen work with plenty of women that fought against the patriarchy because it's a male dominated culture. Okay, so it not only is it a battle going to work and doing your job, but then you're fighting against that as well. So I felt sorry for them. I like to be that fly on the wall, and I sat there and I watched everything go on. Yeah, and I saw plenty of it. Yeah.
Have your daughters read the Amazons? What was their reaction?
I've read it to her, but I had to skip through the racier parts in the beginning. Yes, I've read it to her. Yeah, she likes it.
Right, right. You talked about this sort of a poetry takes a lot of time.
Yes.
Have you looked at the use of artificial intelligence, or you want to write it fully through your imagination?
It's funny you said that. Just a couple of days ago, okay, let's give this a try. Let's see if it can grab the concept. Now, I tried it for hours. Okay, no, do it over. It's wrong. No, do it over. It's wrong. It could not grab the concept. It has, the entire internet at its disposal of words. It apparently understands rhymes, but it's not picking it up. It wasn't. I tried several forms of AI to do it. And while I don't, I'm not going to sell a book that's written by AI, I was curious to see if it could do it, and it's not. It can't pick it up. What it considered a rhyme, you and me would not consider a rhyme. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
Right. Maybe AI is very much in its infancy on this particular aspect of things.
Yes.
Maybe
yes, it is.
Maybe they will train them on the Amazons and other books in the trilogy. Later on, maybe
yes,
AI
maybe.
will be a bit more educated and learned on this.
Yes, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. I want to write it, by myself. I don't want AI to help me. I want all human minds on this. Yeah, it's just something about it that makes it better. To have a human hand on it. Yeah.
Absolutely. There is much to learn about this sort of poetry, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more from you, about you, Peter. So what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, I am going to start teaching classes here in mid 2025, maybe online. That's still to be determined, but you could contact me at petergunn.net, and my email address is gunindustries@outlook.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Take care, Jay. Take care.